In this video, I'm going to teach you how to smash the verbal reasoning. Don't worry, I'm just filming, it's okay. Hi, my name's Dr. Ashley Hilton. I'm a doctor and a dentist, and in this channel, we teach you how to make your application to medical school absolutely bulletproof. So if you like the sound of that, hit that notification bell and you will get lots of videos where I teach you exactly how to get into medical school. And today we're looking at how we are going to absolutely nail this verbal reasoning. We're going to just get it in a chokehold and just get it nailed so that we score really highly, because this is the area that people struggle most with. It's usually the lowest average score for people and the one that people find the trickiest. So when we have a look at the UCAT website, they say that the verbal reasoning subtest assesses your ability to read and think carefully about information presented. You want to be able to see whether specific conclusions can be drawn from the text without any prior knowledge. And the reason it's important is because when you get, say, a new patient come through, you have a lot of information about them, a lot of letters, loads of notes, and just loads of things to help you get a flavour of what's going on with the patient. And in that time, of course, you need to get to the core of what's going on with that patient, ignore all the unimportant stuff, and just get to the crux of exactly what's going on with them. And talking of getting to the crux, let's just get on with exactly what you need to know, cut the crap, we'll give you the core essentials, and then I'll come on to tell you my key strategy that's going to make you perform really well and really quickly in this section of the UCAT. So let's quickly talk about the section structure. For this, you get 11 question sets. Now, a question set comprises of one passage and then 4 questions about it. So that means for the verbal reasoning, you get 44 questions in total. And of the entire 2-hour exam, 1 minute is dedicated to just some reading time and a bit of zen and mental preparation to prepare you for the onslaught that's about to come. And then you get 21 minutes to do those 44 questions, which works out at about 29 seconds per question. And the thing that you must understand about the UCAT, especially the verbal reasoning, is that it's so time pressured. It is not really so much about your knowledge and your skills, it's just about the performance of being able to smash out all the questions, do them all, understand them accurately and quickly, so you actually just get through them and complete them in that time. So with these questions, you're going to get 2 types. It's either going to be one set of 4 true, false, can't tell, or a set of 4 comprehension questions. And I'll talk about later in the video the different types of comprehension questions you can get and how to tackle them. And it's important to know that of those 11 question sets, about 65% will be of the comprehension type. So with the true, false, can't tell, it's pretty self-explanatory really, but when you get a statement in the passage, you'll either have something that's clearly true, clearly false, but the can't tell are the answers that will trip you up, because you'll be reading the text and being like, it's not a yes, it's not a no. And in that sense, that is the ones that are can't tell if you can't say it for sure. And the important term that I want you to understand from this is the term logically follows, which I'll explain now. And with the comprehension questions, I want you to always keep in the back of your mind the question of, does this logically follow on? And if it does logically follow, it means that it cannot be anything other than this, which means that you can select that answer. That means when you're reading something, can you say that the text, without any prior knowledge or any outside knowledge, can you literally look at something and say, that infers this, or that suggests this? Does this logically follow from the words and the text that's in front of me? So the comprehension questions will be a question or a statement followed by 4 possible options. Okay, so now we've come to the important part. I'm going to take each of these types of questions and show you the definitive strategy for how to nail them in the exam. Before we dive into this, what I want you to know that across all of the resources and books that I've read over my years of teaching students, this is proven to be the best technique for scoring well and doing it quickly in the time-pressured UCAT exam. So what I want you to do is learn these techniques, but really hone them as a skill so that when it comes to the day, you just don't abandon ship and just leave it and then revert to an old way of doing it. This is the same as, for example, when you're a doctor and you get taught how to do advanced life support. So this is when a patient has a cardiac arrest and you have to do CPR on them. We get taught a very basic standard set of things that we have to do, and they get drilled into you so that when the panic of a real life situation of someone having an arrest occurs, you know how to do them, you don't have to think about it, and you just automatically do it. I want you to drill these techniques so that on the big day, when you have the pressure of doing it, you just do them effortlessly and thoughtlessly, and they make you efficient and accurate in answering the question. So for the true, false, can't tell, I want to teach you something called the targeted read. And this technique seems counterintuitive, but essentially what you do is when you get a question, you ignore the passage. So don't read that first. You then go to the question. You want to know what the root theme that they're asking from the question is. So once you've sussed that out, you then go back to the passage, scan it for mentions of that theme. So then when you find that theme in the passage, whether it's one place or several, you want to read the sentence before, of, and after that line. And only then do you work out what the passage is telling you in relation to that question. Then you go back and answer whether it's true, false, or can't tell. One big tip for this is to look at the types of words being used. So a lot of the times you'll get little clues in the ways it's worded. Things like sometimes versus never. They're trying to trip you up on those little technicalities that don't make something absolutely true or absolutely false. And if you find a mismatch between the way that it's worded in the question and in the passage, then it's likely to be either false or can't tell. So I'll talk about the comprehension questions now. These have actually been introduced a lot more recently, and they do pose a bit more of a challenge than the true, false, can't tell. They'll usually be based on something called value judgments. So that means that they'll ask you to say which is the best or which is the most likely. And the reason that's tricky is because you'll have things that are true, and some of the most tricky ones are things like which is the most correct. And that makes it difficult because in the answers, the options that you'll have, some of them will be true, but some of them will be better than others. And the tricky part is deducing which of these is actually the most correct. Think of it like picking the most handsome on Love Island. I'm sure they're all ridiculously good looking, but picking the most handsome is the tricky part. So with the comprehension, we're going to have 4 types of questions. The first is incomplete statements. So they're going to start with half a sentence, and then you have to pick from the 4 which is the best one that most accurately completes that sentence to make a true statement. And we have cause and consequence, which is basically saying how one thing leads to another. Then we get those ones that are more like a long form true, false, can't tell, where we get those which of these is the most true that you absolutely love and will be the bane of your life. And the final one is conclusion. So it's basically asking you from what you've read, what logically follows that's said in the passage. So again, to give you a strategy for these comprehension type questions is the good old targeted read. I want you to drill this into your brain. So the first thing you've got to do is ignore the passage. I know it's counterintuitive. If you've got to put a blindfold on yourself to make sure that you do it, this is the way to hone that tactic. So once you've ignored the passage, you go to the question, you work out the theme of it, you want to know what it is they're asking about. Then you go back to the passage, scan for any mentions of that theme, read the sentence before, of, and after that theme. Make sure that you've got all of the mentions of it throughout the passage, because there might be more than one, and only then do you work out what it's saying and how to answer the question from that. I can't stress to you enough that this is the quickest and most accurate way to tackle these questions, because the main thing that's up against you for the verbal reasoning is time. Imagine the most time-pressured situation you can think of. You've overslept and you've got to catch the train for an important interview, and you are rushing, you can't think straight, everything's going off, and you're just getting bombarded with information. That is how time pressured the verbal reasoning is. Now, I'm not saying that to stress you out, but I'm saying it to impress upon you just how quick and efficient you've got to be. The main reason people don't score well in the verbal reasoning is because they don't finish it and they spend too much time trying to get the answers right in all the questions. Now, of course, we want to get the answers right, but we also want to make sure we finish everything, do it accurately in a time-efficient manner, and this technique is what's going to help you do that. So now that I hope I've got you paying attention, here are some tips for how you can absolutely nail this section. Firstly, again, remember it's time pressured, so the tactic that we use is the most efficient. There is no negative marking, and God loves a trier, so have a go at every single question. Because of the time pressure, allow for 1 minute before the section finishes just to go through and quickly answer questions of the last ones that you haven't managed to do. So let's say you've got 12 questions left with a minute to go. If you just quickly go through and button bash everything and put an answer for all those 12 questions, statistically, you'll get 25 to 33% of the marks for it. And if you haven't got this already from the tone of the video, one of the things I employ is to be ruthless with your time and make sure if you don't know the answer to a question or you're taking too much time on it, just guess and move on. Another piece of advice is that you must practice on a computer. Now, I have an online course that tells you all the types of questions, every single one that could come up and how to tackle each one. But if you want a little bit more and to have some practice questions here on YouTube, check out this video or the full playlist here. And here we have all of my UCAT lessons that I've released on YouTube so far. But again, I've got loads of the 2021 versions on the way, so hit subscribe and turn on notifications and I will tell you exactly the very minute that they come out. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video.